Good morning, lads and lasses. I hope we're all good. Before we start, I had a young man contact me, and he's starting a YouTube channel now. Sitting in front of a camera and talking to a camera is quite a scary thing, and then to put yourself out there for sometimes abuse on YouTube, because you get some weirdos watching YouTube, especially once a boxing fraternity. You do get some kind of quite. I'd imagine they may be sitting in the basement somewhere, maybe wearing their mum's clothes and smearing themselves in peanut butter, that sort of stuff. So you do get some weird kind of abusive people on Facebook, on YouTube. So starting a channel, sitting in front of a camera and talking to the world, if they listen, is quite a scary thing. So when I started a channel, I was blessed with the fact that very early on I had support from G-Man, who promoted my channel, invited me on, had a couple of lives with G-Man, which I'll be eternally grateful for. I had Joe Stunner, who really gave me a leg up, Joe Stunner. Eternally grateful to Joe Stunner. And then I had sort of Bob from Canada's Boxing Channel, who was a fan of my channel, and then started his own channel and is absolutely flying. So I was lucky enough, I had a really good support and I had some really good exposure given to me by the likes of these gentlemen I just talked about, G-Man, Joe Stunner, Bob from Canada's Boxing Channel. I had a lot of shout outs from Loz D. Shout out Loz D, my brother. I had a lot of shout outs and a lot of exposure from other people. So I had some help. I had some good help. And it's you put yourself out there and you think, will anyone ever watch or anyone ever listen? So a young chap messaged me and asked if I could give him a shout out. He's a young lad, 21, I think. He's a boxing fan, loves his boxing, but he's just starting, so he's just in the infancy of finding his way. But I said I'll give him a shout out. So the channel is, I think it's called Sexy Pig. So it's S3XXXYPIG Pig. But just go over, give him a subscribe, give him a like. It costs you no time and it costs you no money. And the world was a better place, or will be a better place, if people just took the time to help others in any small way, any way they could. So just go over, give him a subscribe, set him on his journey. It's a community, YouTube is, we like to think, in most parts. And you meet some really good people on YouTube, as I said, the people I've said before, and the like. So just go over, give him a 2 seconds, type that in, hit subscribe, we'll make his day. Downsy, shout out to Downsy as well. Big up Downsy. I watched an interview yesterday with Dillian White. He was talking to Coogan on IFL. And I instantly clicked on, and when I looked at it, Dillian White looked like he had dropped an absolute shit ton of weight. Now, I know how sort of camera lens angles and camera angles can really make you look a lot lighter than what you are. But Dillian looks like he's shifted a load of weight. Coogan asked him, that was probably the first thing Coogan said to him was Dillian, how much weight he lost? And Dillian said none. Yeah, he had his head clean, shaved, and all that can sometimes make it look lighter, but to me, he looked like he had lost a substantial amount of weight. So he was certainly no way he's coming into the Moses Atuma for outer shape, I would guess. I think in that interview, he said that he was offered the fight and he took the fight even before he knew what the purse was. And I kind of quite believe that with Dillian. Dillian does love a greenback, but Dillian, don't forget, will sort of fight anyone. And he hasn't looked good in his last fight, in his sort of recent history of outings. He hasn't looked great. But you forget someone named Dillian has fought and give him really good fights. And I know people will look at Dillian White and they will look at Moses Atuma and they will look sort of on a stylistic level. You would think that Dillian is maybe a bit tailor-made, especially at this point in his career. So I sent it on a WhatsApp group with Bob and Joe Stunn and Dean. And I said, has anyone seen that video? Has anyone seen how much weight Dillian White has lost? Bob went on to make a video, a very good video. Bob, Canada's Boxing Channel. Go over and have a look at that. But yeah, I've always liked Dillian White. I like, yes, I know the PED things, okay? And I know the other stuff he's done in his career. But leaving that aside, even from the early days, some of his interviews with Coogan Cassius were comedic gold. I cannot fail to sort of warm towards Dillian White. He's just funny. And I like him. He's a good crack. I like Dillian White. As I say, leaving the PED sort of stuff aside. But I like Dillian White. And he looks like he's taking this really seriously. And there probably is only one last bite of the cherry for Dillian. In the hope, I suppose, of getting on a Saudi card or whatever. But you know, there probably aren't that many heavyweights at the moment at the top end. And Dillian maybe not be, in terms of his career and where he's at the top end, but he's still a top end name, Dillian White, like it or not. He's got a big following, Dillian White. And there aren't many of them sort of fighters, I don't think, who would really fancy Moses at this point. They might sort of swerve Moses for a different option. It's almost, because Moses does look that good, although yet we're yet to see his chin tested in real time. But I don't think there's many people who really like. They might have to have a think about taking a Moses fight if they're offered it. And apparently Dillian just said, yes, thank you, sign me up. And as Bob said in his video, seeing Dillian now in apparently the good shape that he's in and listening to him talk, he seems in a good place. I'm more interested in this now, because when it was announced, I'll admit, and I still make Moses a favourite, of course I do, but it certainly in my head now seems much more of a fight than it did before. So I'm kind of in at this point, and I hope Dillian does himself proud. Because like I say, misdemeanors aside, I like Dillian White, unashamedly. Teddy Atlas was being interviewed by Umar, I think it was, on the recent sort of disclosure of shenanigans by Team Dubois, Stan, mostly, and he was talking about the sort of pre-fight party and the controversy that surrounds that. And Umar, it was a great moment, because Umar said, so Teddy, you know, having had a long, extensive career, training champions, the likes of the early days of Mike Tyson's career and his amateur career, you had Michael Moorer, you know, through a part of his heavyweight sort of career. Would it have ever been a thing while you were in control, or would you have ever let it go on a party or a gathering? I mean, if that's a gathering, I've been to a lot of gatherings in my time. They just weren't called gatherings in my day. So he put that to him, and so he said, yeah, so would that have gone down in your day? Would you have let that go on? Would that have been a thing, a gathering before a fight, on fight day, sort of with a load of people that the prime objective, i.e. Daniel Dubois, doesn't really know yet and doesn't know, so much so that if we're led to believe it's true, that he said, can I escape this and go for a drive? Fucking get my head out of it. To which there was a pause, and Teddy Atlas went like this. No. And that was it. Quite frankly, matter of factly, which is the opinion of every professional that's been put to. Teddy went on to talk about, which is what I commented on the weigh-in, and it was the moment where Usyk, as they went to do the sort of weigh, and this is kind of before the stare down, before the face off, but they'll get weighed, it'll get announced, and then they'll sort of take to the stage, and both have a flex, then they'll turn and have a face off. But it was the moment before the face-off, at the moment about they would go and do the customary flex, where Alexander Usyk stepped in front of Daniel Dubois and it was the look on Dubois' face and the effect it had, and it's the difference between, and I talked about this when I made a video about Artur Beterbiev quite a while ago, and I said some people, some humans are just built differently. Internally, they're different, really. Their psychology is different. It's harder. It's bolder. Some people are just undeniable. Some people are unbreakable. And so you have Usyk that no one seemingly to this point, and I doubt ever will, really be able to get inside heads and affect where he is mentally. Where you saw that just Usyk stepping in front of Dubois had a massive effect on Dubois. You could see it on his face. As Teddy Atlas said, at that point he didn't know what to do. He didn't know whether to roar, kind of looked around for some support, don't know what to do. Almost done, as they call it, the fight before the fight almost. And a lot of times, what happens at weigh-ins and face-offs really doesn't have a bearing, but sometimes it does. When you're seemingly, I don't know if fragile is the right word, but when you're kind of seemingly, although outwardly simple, the complex character that Daniel Dubois probably is internally, you could see it had a massive effect, and this is what Teddy picked up on, and this is what I remarked on, and a few others remarked on as well. But yeah, go and have a look, go check that out. Anyway, I'll see you all soon.